Hello, I'm Dina Titus, your Congresswoman from Nevada's 1st District in the heart of Las Vegas. I wish we could be together in person to celebrate the remarkable legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but we must keep each other safe during these times. Today we remember the values Dr. King stood for and so eloquently shared, teaching us all that we are not measured by where we stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where we stand at times of challenge and controversy. Over 5 decades after his passing, Dr. King's words ring true today. They remind us that moral leadership doesn't require a person to be in a position of power, and that exercising moral authority simply requires the will to do the right thing. Working in concert with generations of civil rights activists, Dr. King helped transform our country. From protecting voting rights to ensuring economic opportunity for all, Dr. King's hard-fought victories must be our guiding principles. Unfortunately, the crises we've experienced this year have shown that racial disparities remain all too real in the United States. We watched George Floyd's family and other families feel pain that no one should ever have to experience. We continue to witness how communities of color, who make up a large part of the essential workforce, disproportionately lack access to adequate health care and yet face the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll continue to speak out for systemic change that addresses not just the issues of policing, but the inequality and opportunity that exists for far too many in our country, including access to health care, education, housing, and employment. Last summer, I co-sponsored and voted for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which sought to reform policing by eliminating chokeholds, no-knock warrants, and other law enforcement tactics that we have seen result in the murder of a number of brown and black people in our country. The legislation passed the House in June last year, but was never brought to a vote in the Senate. Hopefully now that can change. I also co-sponsored and voted for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, named for my former colleague and civil rights hero. It's imperative that we pass this legislation to ensure that minority voting rights are not left at the mercy of states and localities that have a history of discrimination. Just days after we witnessed white supremacists breach the U.S. Capitol and wave the Confederate flag in the halls of Congress, we are reminded that Dr. King's perspective that the arc of history bends towards justice is a motivating force. But that arc of history will not bend on its own. It requires all of us to grab hold and push for progress. Dr. King provided a framework for how each of us can help transform our future. We can stay informed, stay active, and call out injustice when we see it. So especially when times are difficult, let's gather strength from Dr. King's legacy and use our power to perfect this union and work towards a more equitable nation. Thank you so much.